Welcome to In the Blue. I am your host, Corey Frogley. I am solo in my hosting today. My co-host was tied up and couldn't be with us. But luckily, I've got a guest with us today that's addressing a topic that every clinic faces. And I don't care how small you are or how large or how many locations you are. This is a topic you need to be aware of because in today's ever-changing landscape of technology, we're becoming more and more digitalized, and it's just that much more important to recognize protecting patient records. And as you guys all know, a $10,000 fine per leak is a big problem. So my guest today is Steve Price. Steve Price
Hello.
has been in the business for 18 years and started a phenomenal company. And Steve, it's Tech Rockstars. Is that the name of it?
Tech Rockstars, yep, that's the name.
I love it. I love it. And he brings the rock star to protecting your data. And this is a guy with experience that's going to share some tips with us today that you can literally implement today. And stay tuned because by the end of our show, he's going to save his best tips. He's got 4. I hope we can get to all 4. And those are the things that you will be able to put into action immediately. And we've got an incredible offer at the end of the show. Something that every viewer should take advantage of. So real quick, Steve, the way I met Steve is we onboarded a dental DSO, and as we were connecting and pulling, there was a lot of data that we had to pull into the cloud, and ran into some problems in our own company of trying to process that much data. And who comes to the rescue? He put his Superman cape on and came to the rescue and really helped us get everything dialed in and working. And it's now working beautifully. So Steve, welcome to the show, and grateful to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, Doctor. So, it was a interesting meetup, kind of solving these problems. But that's what we do, we really love to solve problems for businesses, and that's really our goal and our mission, to help do that. So, thank you for having me, and it's great to be on.
Beautiful, beautiful. The first thing that I think is going to be very useful to our listeners is you talk a lot about there's a lot of wasteful technology, things that can bog down our servers and not be useful. Share with us what is wasteful. What should we be cutting out?
Pencil and paper. You should cut out pencil and paper.
Amen.
Too many times I walk into an office and see files and folders and patient records scattered around and HIPAA violations everywhere. It's time to move on. We are in the 21st century. It's just time to move on. And when I hear wasteful technology, it's really, I think of the government when they spend $640 for a toilet seat. It's the doctor's offices aren't quite that bad, but I've seen interesting things. So I've been in the dental industry helping DSOs for probably 10, 15 years. Helping them. I've seen a lot of technology used. I've seen many doctors cutting corners and doing things they shouldn't be doing, and purchasing large items later, regretting it. So it's a lot of stuff I can share, but I'm just going to give you like the top 3 or 4. Okay. So I guess the first thing, wasteful technology. You think you're holding on to your old systems, your old servers, having Windows XP, and you think this technology is going to last forever, and it's actually a liability. It's a huge liability. I'm actually a certified hacker. I know what attackers can do very easily to compromise systems, and they can do whatever they want. They can encrypt your data and sell it back to you later with ransomware. I've seen it, and businesses can go under because of that, because they don't have backup. They don't have the proper things to kind of handle those situations. So it's time to get rid of those XP machines. let's reevaluate ourselves, and let's move on from the DOS days and the XP stuff. Okay. So that would be like number 1 of wasteful technology. Try to get up to date. And the next one would be like, stop purchasing your computers from Costco. Okay. Costco's great, especially for TVs. I think they're a wonderful place to buy TVs, and there's a good reason, to buy TVs for. And I'll explain to you later. But Costco computers are, they are great for personal use. They're great for home and things like that. But when it comes to a business, you need to have professional software. You need to have the integrability, to network them and have security audits performed on them. So those type of systems are not, compatible. And plus, they're using consumer level components. So when you have those types of systems, they're not going to last like a business quality
that makes
system
sense.
you were to buy from Dell. So
wasn't built to process the volume of data that clinics process.
Exactly, and you don't want those things going down. And when you're seeing a huge patient, that's it's going to cost you in the long run. So So it's good to buy recommended hardware from an IT, and that's really important. Get somebody who knows the industry very well and knows what lasts and so forth. So
great point.
And the next one is let's do picking the wrong practice management software. So this is one of the hardest things. Anytime an office goes into business, they got to make a lot of decisions, and software is going to be one of them, right? So software can be very challenging because there's a lot of aspects you want to cover. How is it going to manage? How is it going to integrate? How easy is it to use? There's so many different aspects of it. So I have a couple tips I will share with you to kind of help you pick some software to kind of eliminate the frustrations, because you don't want to pick something that you're going to have to retrain your employees and you have to retrain, because that's very, very costly. A lot of work. Actually, we're doing that now with one of our, actually, you know him. We have a common, we're actually transitioning from one system to another, and it's been a deal. It's a lot of work, so.
And this is a big question we get is which PMS or which EHR should I use? So that from an IT guy, this is a phenomenal opportunity for our listeners to hear this directly from an IT support guy. So
so there's a lot of things we can look at, right? So as an IT guy, we like to look at, how secure is it? How does it scale and things like that. It's things that will gloss your eyes over, But some important things to look at, how easy is the software to navigate? When you use it, are you clicking 5 different times, waiting for, things to come up? And is it kind of a drag? And is it better just using paper at that point? Another thing is, how fast does it work? Is it slow? Is it sluggish? Is it going to get slower over time? That also can impact your.
I got a quick question on that, Steve, because I've experienced this with the HRs, and a lot of times there's this perceived drag on the software that's slow. Could that be related to the quality of their server? And if they improve their server, the actual software would be faster? It's not the software's fault?
It's both. So the experience is handled with software and hardware. So if you want to have a great experience, you need to have both kind of combined. Apple does a great job of this. They supply the software and the hardware. They develop a great experience. IT people need to understand the same phenomenon, that the end goal is to have the staff work their business as best to their abilities without being lagged with issues with the server being slow and things like that. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it can make a huge difference on the hardware side.
Do these software companies, have you ever experienced this, maybe or maybe not, but where they actually recommend not just the bare minimum, because I see that a lot. Here's the bare minimum to run our system, but what's the optimal? I don't want the bare minimum. I want the optimal because we're a busy practice.
Right. When it comes to cost and justifying it, I've seen time and time again that practices always pick the minimum.
Oh my gosh, that's a big mistake.
It's a big mistake, and what you really got to do is you really have to plan for 5 years at a time. You really have to take a look at, how's this going to look like in 5 years? Is it going to get bogged down? Is there enough storage? How is redundancy handled? If something fails, is there a warranty and things like that? You have to really consider. So it's, there's a lot to think about, and you really need a support structure or IT that can really, really help you in kind of making some of these decisions. And another thing is, how well does the software work with third-party imaging? We have, dental industry, you have X-rays, you have, acquiring X-rays on the spot that go directly into the imaging software. You have other scanning abilities to document, and instead of having paperwork everywhere, you have electronic documents. So it's very, very, very important to make sure that it integrates well or plays nicely with other vendors.
Yeah.
So, and does it have electronic claims? Are you able to send out things electronically? And what's the process in that? Is it difficult? Is it easy? Is it hard? Is your staff having to do 20 different steps just to send out a claim? Is it faster just penciling it in again?
Yeah, speed is a big deal.
It really is, especially if you're a busy practice. I mean, in the beginning, you may not be too busy, you may not think about it, but in the future, if you're located in an awesome spot and things are going well for you, things can buckle pretty easily when it comes to technology, and it hasn't been thought out properly.
That's a great point. If I could address that, because we work with a lot of practices, and everything from very small, where they're analyzing every penny they're spending, and they're like, well, speed's not that important because I have the time. Well, we teach them you've got to behave like you don't have the time. You've got to put in the systems to build that for you. And that's what Steve's trying to share with you. Plan for the next 5 years. And if you've got to spend a little bit more upfront to build your systems to plan for speed, because efficiency and speed is what allows you to reach your volume goals. That makes all the difference in the world. Don't justify the minimum because you're not busy today.
Right. And that's your background. You're developing KPI dashboards with goals in mind, right? We want to hit our targets, and you kind of have to do that with IT. It's gonna end up, the target's gonna end up being there anyways. You just got to kind of plan for it.
So what's the most important tech they should be focusing on?
The most important tech, let's see. So this really depends on, what type of practice, right? But I think you really want to be unique to the industry, right? So there's a lot of technology that's being built right now that can detect, let's say for the dental industry, cavities quicker, and can detect, do 3D imaging and so forth. So there's a lot of good scanners out there that can detect things early to be, have good sales. So I guess maybe the most important tech, let's see, I'm trying to skim through my notes here. Let's see, probably I would say number one, having a good backup, let's say, important tech. So you're having a lot of information on your servers. You want to have, the right infrastructure. So the servers, you want to have the right internet service provider. And you really want to make sure that those things are kept up to date, and so forth. So the most important things I think are, be unique to the scenario, have a 3D X-ray or a 3D Panorex, and something that nobody else has, I think would be important. But at the same time, make sure you protect your infrastructure as well.
I want to just restate how important that is backups and a system that can support. And I'm just going to share a quick example without trying to expose myself a little bit here, because this is a little bit embarrassing to share. But about 4 years into practice, I made some business changes, and I brought on a partner, and the two of us, the energy together, just skyrocketed our practice. And the server we were using, again, this was quite a while ago, 14 years ago, but the server we were using could not handle the growth. So we skyrocketed, in literally 90 days, it just ramped up. And what happened was our server crashed. But we're like, well, that's okay, because we have backups. Well, when we went to go look at the backups that we assumed were backing up, there were no backups. We lost patient records. Well, because we spiked, about 6 months later, an insurance company, and I won't name them, but an insurance company saw this spike in claims because they saw our growth. So it's just kind of a routine audit. It's a trigger that triggers a routine audit. So I'm just going to warn you, if you have a spike in growth, just make sure your records are in place. But that audit, they came in and they said, they literally walk into your practice and say, we need these records within the next 4 hours. Well, guess what? We went to pull them and there's no backup. So we couldn't provide them, which just, I mean, talk about a doctor's worst nightmare. And again, we treated the patients. It all happened. We were able to go out and get affidavits from the patients that they provide the care. So they weren't looking at insurance fraud, but the insurance company, because there's no records, requires a record. We had to write some big checks back to them. It cost me so much money that 1/100th of the cost if I just would have focused on, oh, we have growth, we better look at our technology to sustain the growth. So I think what Steve is saying here, I'm testifying of how important it is because of personal experience.
Yes, having good backup technology is actually easy to come by nowadays. It didn't used to be. The cloud infrastructures that are put in place nowadays make it super simple, and it makes it a no-brainer, you know. And the IT landscape has actually changed. You know, we went from a personal computer having, you know, floppy disk backups to now having a server and having workstations and things like that. Then that's the common thing now. And then, you know, now having cloud technology available to us so we can have easy failovers. And now we have what's called software as a service, when you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You just pay somebody a small fee and they kind of, you know, they take care of everything for you. So it gives them the liability. So the future looks bright.
Yeah, you're getting into some great technology, and so because record keeping it's such an important part of keeping these records safe and private, and we're looking what's happened to Facebook and them sharing their data and all of those things. What are the best practices for security best practice in your industry? If we're following these best practices and something does happen, then at least we have that to whatever other party is investigating us, that we were following best practices. What are those?
So so number one, best practice, backup. Okay, we kind of discussed that earlier. Yeah. Number one, you got to make sure you have a backup. I can't stress that enough. Okay, and make sure you check the backups and make sure that you kind of do a fire drill and do some testing and make sure it's working. Okay. Number two, you know, do a security audit at least once a year, and a lot of health insurance companies require at least a HIPAA audit just to kind of make sure that you're in compliance. You know, it's very, very important regarding that. And good policies. I know this is kind of boring and monotonous, but policies are very, very important to control your organization, because they need to know what they should and should not be, you know, doing. You know, should they be going to personal websites on the computer? No, that can breach, you know, HIPAA and so forth. Best practice also being like web filters, making sure that, you know, you can block inappropriate sites in case of somebody ends up using the systems that they're not allowed to. We can block those. Good firewall is hugely important, making sure that your office is protected against outside intruders. And really, best practices having great documentation and good IT health reporting at least every month, so that we can see, you know, how's the growth happening, you know. And a lot of IT providers can report, give you that information.
Nice. What about like logins on different computers? Like, because we have our different team members, if they're using all the same login, should they have individual logins? Should we have roaming logins? Should the computer auto lock? I mean, what is the best practices there?
So that's a great question. So most healthcare or patient management software, you usually have to have a password, or it's recommended to have a password so you can see and do an audit on transactions. So that's number one, should be. For computers, I mean, you can get away with one office user as long as patient information isn't stored on it. You know, you want to keep patient information locked in a secure location with password protection. So if that's all inclusive with your healthcare software, then by all means, you can use that as a locking mechanism, essentially.
Nice. No, that's great. That's great. So as we kind of come into a close here, we talked about your actionable tips, things that docs can do right now to get their practice up to best standards, and really not sleep at night, because this is a sleep at night industry. None of us wants to focus on this after the data breach. And that's where a lot of docs end up reaching out to you, as after the data breach.
It's always after.
What are your 4 best tips for these docs to make sure everything is secure and in a good place?
So a good thing is to really invest into your employees. Okay, I know this is kind of general, but train them in security and secure because they are most likely the weakest link. Okay.
Mm.
Invest into them, make sure they know a little bit of the ins and outs, and have them use the software and learn the software to a T, because there's a lot of software tools that are not even being used. So that'll be probably like number one. Just train your employees, and then also make sure you have a good backup reporting. I can't iterate that enough.
Yeah.
And security and good security practices.
That's the third time he's brought that up,
I
audience.
know backup is huge. It's something I can never iterate enough. And then really find an IT personnel or company that really understands your needs and have years of experience with your type of practice. I think is really something you should really take home from this. So you gotta, doctors think they spend lots of money and going to school and everything, and they know their practice very, very well. But I'm saying you need to pick the brain of an IT person or somebody in the industry that can really help your practice.
Yeah. No, that's a great tip. Great tip. And that's one of the nice thing about your service and company, because you guys will actually take the time to answer questions, and you're even doing a phenomenal offer today, which is a free assessment of their system, where you guys will look at the security. You'll because again, like you said, you're a certified hacker. You can actually see the vulnerabilities of their office, and then obviously offer solutions, but more importantly, at least bring them up to knowing the problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really important. I mean, if there's a couple sayings, but I won't mention them. But what you know can't kill you, but that's not incorrect. What you don't know can actually harm you. You want to know where the vulnerabilities are so you can prepare or plan a way to resolve them. That's really crucial, and we're giving this away to anybody who gives off your promo code for this month only. So we're going to do a complete audit for you guys, and what that's going to include is a lot of documentation. We have HIPAA as well. We're going to include in there so you can understand some of the HIPAA faults that kind of come into play. So this is huge. Usually I charge $3,000 for this service, and I'm actually offering it to you guys for free.
That's incredible, Steve.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, you guys take advantage of that. It's through the end of this month. You've got to use the code BlueIQ, and Steve's got a pretty good sized team, but he can't service everybody. And so if you're watching this, I would take advantage of that. How do they get a hold of you to take advantage of that offer? I know
you can go to our website at techrockstars.com, and it's spelled TECHROCKSTARS.
Perfect. We've got that on the screen.
Okay.
Excellent. So appreciate the presentation today, Steve. That is some incredible information. I think our users are going to find this extremely valuable, and especially this offer. In closing today, we want to learn a little bit more about Steve Price and the man behind this amazing company. And so I got a few just quick questions for you that are more just kind of fun. But so Steve's from California, lives in the LA area, but because of remote and all the technology, can service people all around the United States and the world. So location isn't a big deal. But Steve, what is, you're a business owner. That can be stressful. All of us who own businesses, we know what it's like to carry that weight. What do you do to decompress? Okay. What's your thing to reconnect to Steve?
I like two things. So Tech Rockstars, actually I was in a band, and that's how I kind of stressed, right? So that used to kind of influence my creative side, and so we did that for a while. I stopped that for now, but I actually ride mountain bikes. I love to ride bikes, so that's my thing.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Next question. What is the book or a podcast or something that you recommend the most to your closest either clients or friends that you have found so much value in your life? It's just something you love to recommend or give away.
Okay, so there's a book called Future Crimes. I like to refer to this book a lot. It has a lot of insight of what the future could look like and what the future of crimes look like. Wow. Very intriguing, and it's very, very interesting. Highly recommend it. It's long, but it's something that I recommend to everybody.
Cool. I don't think anybody's recommended that on our show. Nice. I'm going to check that out. Next question: favorite vacation destination that our audience, if they love to travel, it's a must-go place.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. What was your
favorite place
me?
favorite place
Go.
you visited or traveled to?
I visited. You know what? I've been to China.
Nice.
Wasn't the most. I would say it was actually for a dental convention. It's funny,
Oh, nice.
but it was such a trip to kind of be outside the California, culture,
Yeah.
and be outside my little bubble here. But I thought that was very, very interesting to kind of visit. So.
Nice. Last question: favorite beverage of a tech rock star?
Rockstar energy drink.
Your your favorite thing to drink when just on a regular basis?
I really like I like water. Honestly, it's the best, the most refreshing, and I drink coffee. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty basic.
No, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Well, Steve, thanks for joining us today on our show. I think this has been invaluable for our audience, and
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
we're going to get this posted up to not only our Facebook page, we'll also have it on LinkedIn, we'll have it on our YouTube. So go to BlueIQ, get BlueIQ.com, and you can connect to our social sites where if you subscribe to these, you'll be notified of our next and upcoming. We've got some phenomenal guests coming up in the next few weeks. So please join us. Remember, we are in the blue. We are live 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We are all about digestible data and tools of scalability. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.